The April patch news just dropped. Let's analyze the changes to cards together. So the very first thing to notice is that there is no nerf, so nothing touching Wrath Blood, it's only buff, and there's a lot of buff this time. So a bit surprised, but I can kinda see, it's the last expansion, they want everyone to be happy playing their favorite class. I think they could have just killed Wrath and just let mono, and Blood players would still be happy, but we'll have to do with it. So let's look at things class by class. So the first thing is Arcane Instruction, going from 2 cost to 1 cost, so reverse back to before its nerf. I don't really like this, because the main reason Mysteria was a tier 0 when it was released was because of its ability to throw full board on 4 impossible to answer, because everything reduces its cost back to 0. And it was just not fun to lose to. So with the Ginger nerf that is still applied, the late game of the deck is still slow, but I think that now we're going to lose to Mysteria Heroes again. Currently the Mysteria list looks like this, and I think that Miser is definitely a relevant inclusion in this, having a bit more damage. And maybe we can even patch Roxy, we'll have to see. The next one is Tetra, and to be honest I really call this one, making her free cost. That will make her a lot less awkward to use, and maybe now you can splash a small engine into spell boost, because pure Machina Shadow, it struggled to deal 20, even if you got all the game plan right. You still relied a lot on drawing Gamma Release for the Tetra spell to kill. I kinda expected them to also unnerf Isabel because of the release of Elena, but didn't happen. I guess probably to not break the unlimited format again. And along Tetra we also got a change to Art of Trust, but now whenever you play a Machina card you deal 2 damage instead of 1 to random enemy follower. I've always been a bit skeptical on that card, because Machina Rune is already playing a lot of things to clear the board. Like Tetra has a random 2 damage, you have a 3-1 rush, so is this card really needed? I guess that now when you're playing against Machina Shadow, and they have this big Aina board with all things with tons of ward at 5 HP, now you know that you can play this spell against them, you can do your wall Tetra combo things, and you'll have a clear board to use the Tetra spell on, so that all the damage goes face. So I'm really not sure. I don't think that it makes pure Machina Shadow good, because this deck already had kind of other problems, but maybe now you can use a Machina Engine into spell boost. Now for Portal we have 2 cards, and this one is a big one, with Agil going from 3 cost to 1 cost when you transmute it. So before, one of the big weaknesses of the Artifact Portal was really the Agil turn. Because you played this card with really awkward starts, you pay 3 play points in a turn when you have 4 or 5 play points, so you don't really have anything to do alongside it, and after that you just never recover the tempo, even with all the PP cheating that you have. Now on turn 4 going second, you can even play Duel with Destiny, so this way for 1 you play Agil, then you play Yuan's Fervor, you get 2 artifacts and you get 1 draw, 1 PP recovery, and you still have 2 play points to do things. So I think that now the deck will be able to actually create cool tempo swings on its first Evo turn, and then follow up with all the Rhino plan. So pretty cool. On top of that we also got a buff to Elena. Now she shuffles 4 Kinage artifacts into the deck, which is way better for the condition of Agil, even if she was not really needed. But also that now you have potentially 12 more heal in the deck, if you can manage to draw them, so maybe there's no point in playing this card. Also now the Altar Plane Onslaught that you get on Evo only costs 1. My problem is that you can still compare this card to Carnelia, so a card that you can evolve to draw 2 artifact cards, except you have to pay 1 more for Elena, and you cannot do it if there is no target on the opponent's board. And also the fact that Elena herself isn't an artifact. It could be cool to make sure that you don't tutor her, but she doesn't progress the 6 artifact condition, so I'm not sure that she will make the cut. Because as you see, I have a stock decklist here for artifacts, and unless we get things like Ines, or maybe we realize that Duel with Destiny isn't that good and is worth cutting, I think we don't have any room for Elena, sadly. Next we have the Avatar of Growth. So now instead of 3 trees, you only require to play 2 trees to resummon it. So if I counted this right, if on turn 7 you have the Avatar Leader effect, and you play Ladika in 4 trees, you get to trade the Avatar twice, and that's 15 damage I believe, so still not 20. If you look at Ladika builds, they were running with the Iris Engine, trying to boardlock the opponent, and stall until double Ladika to make 20, and they were not running this card. So it does enable a slightly faster win, like the deck you used to see with the Frostborn Princess. But I think that combo players, they really like knowing for sure how many damage they're going to deal before going for it, because if they miss, they just lose. So I don't think we're going to switch back to playing this guy. We're probably just going to stay on the Iris Engine. Now this one is pretty impressive. The Benevolent Mother is not a 4-4 anymore, but a 6-6 on Evolve, and she restores 6 defense instead of 4. So this is definitely interesting for Balon, Sword and Taldane. There were sometimes running this card only as a one-off, because it was cool but not impactful enough. But now with this change, when you play a Mother, you know that you're not going to die on the next turn. It's going to be way easier to go back to 20 health and have a big ward to protect you. But it still makes me wonder, like, why didn't they nerf Chimera? Mother is a 4 PP to trade 2 cards, a 6-6 ward and heal 6, and meanwhile Chimera is a 3 PP or 0 PP to do the same things but also deal 6 damage face. It's just better. So okay, the conditions are not the same, but still, you're going to have your Mother, you're going to heal 6 and boom, for 0 PP Chimera is just going to erase it and erase the healing. So even if it's good, I'm not sure it really compares to what Wrath can do. Also, while we are talking about Balon, Untold Kick actually got unnerfed, so now you don't need the rally anymore to transmute it, and have a 0 PP deal 2 damage, draw 1. So for those who play Loot Sword, you know that this card is very strong. We just hate it to play against the ability to just develop a board and kill stuff for 0 PP. But I guess that now that Opulent Strategist isn't there anymore, maybe it's okay, because the combo of having a 3 PP 5-5 was too broken for the time. This spell can actually kill the 1-2 Serpent Girl from Wrath to prevent them from developing and get their Wrath, so it could make the Wrath matchup easier. Also, if you look at the list for Balon Sword, there's actually good synergy with Untold Kick. Because now during the Erika turn, you'll be able to kill your own stuff to make some space, and especially kill the Fox Spearman, so that you get a 3, so 2 cards remove at once. So I think this deck will really appreciate that, and maybe even become favored against Wrath? I don't know. Maybe it has enough fire to lethal on turn 5? We have to see. And for the last one, Dragonboard Striker got unnerfed, so only need 2 buff to evolve and deal 3 damage as a storm. And once again, I really don't like this unnerf, because instead of taking Wrath Blood and leveling it down to the level of other decks, they took all other decks and leveled them up so that they're able to kill Wrath before. So they're giving this ability to a lot of decks to just high roll like Mysteria, but it's not particularly fun to face your opponent turn 3 with Double Striker going for 6 face. They are just 3-5 that you cannot remove, you don't have your evolution yet. So I'm really not a fan of the idea that it's possible. I'm not saying that Buff Dragon is going to be good. I guess that now the Benevolent Mother is a very good counter to it, with Double Bane. And Buff doesn't even have Drazael anymore, so they can't really defend. I'm just not a fan of the possibility. So what will the new meta be like? Well, you can see that Wrath, even if it's not getting nerfed, it still gets a ton of bad matchups. Like Buff Dragon, Mysteria, Balon Sword, all decks that can just try to out-tempo it and finish it before they have the time to recover their health. So I could see Wrath climbing down a tier, maybe going to tier 2. The second best deck, Machina Shadow, it still beats all of these new decks, but I think that Artifact is now a bad matchup for it, because they're basically infinite clearing and infinite damage, so Machina Shadow is not going to be able to stall that. And they also have the 12 PP card that heals wards and Battle Leader Shield to defend against Lubel. And maybe if Wrath actually isn't meta anymore, Machina Shadow will have less of a reason to be played, and more decks will focus on countering it. I think it's going to stay tier 1, but I'm not sure it will be super relevant. And the big question mark is Machina Rune. Here I have a list from day 1, which is not super impressive. I kinda realize now that Air isn't really good in the deck anymore, because now you have a 50-50 chance to also revive the Tech Wizard, now that Tetra is also free cost. So she's probably a cut from the list. I'm just wondering, is there a way to tweak this deck so that it can at least beat Machina Shadow? So very quickly, on Unlimited, Vern is now a 1PP self-evolve, and Alice only costs 3, so only costs 1 by extension, and now gains Storm super early. So I believe their idea is to try to introduce a new archetype, probably with Sword and Blood, because the Evolve Engines actually have a lot of answers to cards like Leviathan Defense Form. So just like they did with buffing the whole Armed Dragon archetype, I think they're trying to push a kind of mid-range archetype, question mark, into Unlimited. The fact you can have a 1pp self-evolve can be super broken for cards that need you to have evolve followers on the board, like Blossoming Dancer, but I think this world strategy is still a bit too slow for all the I win on turn 4 decks like Atomic or Wrath, so we'll have to see the impact it really has. Also, they gave us a complete rework to Departed Soul Taker, so I guess the idea is that you're supposed to run a neutral engine to get your evolves, and then you run a Burial engine with a lot of super good followers with Ward or Storm, so that you can do a huge tempo swing with a Soul Taker. So, unlimited deck builders, have fun, you have a new fun thing to test. All of these changes are coming on Monday 22. I'll be testing Rune and Portal to see if they match with the competition. If you enjoy, leave a like, comment, subscribe, etc. blah blah blah, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye!